Hello, Chef David Rose back at it again at the Georgia Power Customer Resource Center. Next step in the recipe is the scallops. I'm a huge fan of a nice brown caramelized crust on the scallop, and the best way to do that is by patting all that residual water and moisture outside of the scallops. 10 out of 10 times will guarantee it will ensure that crust on it. So you just take paper towels and just pat all that moisture out of the scallops, because that water, that moisture that the scallops are retaining is going to be an enemy of the char and caramelization. So we definitely want to get rid of that so we can ensure we get that nice, buttery, golden brown scallop. This trick right here will do wonders. From there, very simple seasoning. A little bit of kosher salt on both sides. Kosher salt works really well. Maldon salt, I like a nice heavy grained salt so you can see the actual grains of salt so you know how much salt is going on here. And then for presentation purposes, with whitefish with scallops, I prefer to use white pepper. Feel free to use black pepper, but it looks better. It tastes a little sweeter, a little different, nuttier flavor profile. And for presentation purposes, those little black specks, it's gonna look better without that. So kosher salt and white pepper on both sides. You guys with me? I know you are. All right, the key to a really nice hard sear on the scallops is getting that cast iron really hot, really fast. And what you want to do is you want to cook it very quickly. The scallops themselves, you don't want to overcook scallops. The time frame between a perfectly cooked scallop and an overcooked rubbery, leathery scallop is very finite, very minute. So you want to have all hands on deck and make sure you're observing it from beginning to finish, because before you know it, it'll be done. And then to air, we add a little bit of canola oil. You want to ensure that it is piping hot because you don't want it to stick, and a cold pan is also an enemy of caramelizing a scallop. Let that go for a while. A good way to kind of know when the oil is ready is that you'll kind of see ripples and waves in the oil, and that'll be very indicative of a hot pan. And we're gonna go ahead and test one out. We wanna hear that sizzle because again, you're using all 5 senses, and with this particular part, we're using sound. So you wanna hear that tss. So shh, 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 shh. You in the back, quiet now. You hear that? That right there, music to my ears. And you don't wanna overcrowd the pan, because overcrowding the pan with the cold scallops will bring that temperature down in the pan. And we want to have a nice, blazing hot pan to get that nice hard sear on there. All right. Okay. So we got that going right now. Again, the scallops are very small. Ideally, you want to cook them to a nice medium temperature where you don't want them well done. You want that nice bite, that nice crusty exterior, but you still want that very moist and very tender medium doneness on the inside. So 2 things are happening here. The cast iron is a great heat conductor, and the induction kind of amplifies that. So you want to kind of pay attention to the bottom of the scallops as it starts to brown kind of on the bottom. You want to pay attention to that. And again, this happens very quickly, so I'm going to show you how it's done. So ideally about 2 to 3 minutes roughly when you start to see that browning and caramelization on the bottom of the scallops. Don't move it, don't touch it, don't flip it, back up. Let the scallop do its thing. Trust me, you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. So at this point, you just want to peek. You don't want to flip yet. Peek to see how the bottom is looking. And a good key also with this is when the scallops release from the bottom. So we're not quite there yet. Let the scallops continue doing their thing. You don't want to rush this. You can't rush perfection. Let it do its thing. And if you want, you can also kind of press it down to ensure that nice sear on the scallop. Because visually, it just looks appetizing. Kind of let the scallops release a little bit. Don't flip it yet, but just make sure it's releasing. All right. And next from there, to ensure that nice hard sear on there, we're gonna add butter to the pan. And let that butter kind of melt, do its thing. What that butter's gonna do, get that nice, hard, caramelized browning on the bottom of the scallop. That butter's gonna get nutty. It's gonna add a nice sweetness and a nice nutty factor as well to the scallops. When those milk solids start to brown, it's gonna impart a really nice flavor. All right. So once that butter's done its thing, at that point, then you wanna flip it. All right. Nothing is more beautiful than a properly cooked, hard seared scallop. So once it's gotten to that point, you want to baste the scallops with that butter. So you then tilt the pan a little bit and just baste it with the butter. What that butter is going to do is going to cook and also get that deeper caramelization, that deeper browning on the scallop. It's going to taste delicious when that butter just soaks up all that delicious butter in the scallops. It's gonna soak all that up. It's gonna make for a really awesome finished product on the scallop. Oh yeah. And you just baste that for about a good 45 seconds to a minute to ensure that you're then go ahead and cooking it through to that nice medium temperature. All right, so at that point, that's kind of the finished product you're looking for. You get that nice brown butter basted scallop. You get that nice caramelization on there, that nice even doneness on the scallop as well. And I think we're good to go with that, guys.